USA. What is the impact on the families that are working at the port facilities in Vancouver and Prince Rupert of that in the midterm, in the long term? Some have postulated that any job losses, as we've delineated here this afternoon, are going to be made up for by the fact that there's a brand new greenfield mine BHP Billiton is planning for Jansen Lake. But they have said that mine will happen anyway. And by the way, we welcome that investment. That obviously isn't a takeover. That's new investment in the province. That's what we're striving for. And we're grateful that BHP Billiton would make that decision, that would have that vote of confidence in our economy. But they have said, though, that that mine is going ahead anyway, notwithstanding the result of the process we're involved in. So, to review the jobs test on the net benefit question, a question exists then about the jobs that are in play as a result of Mosaic and Agrium's expansion, but about the impact on Campotex and planned port and rail car expansions in Saskatchewan and BC. It's not a net benefit, possibly a loss, and Jansen Lake, not a net benefit. Let's turn to the impact of this takeover proposal on royalties and taxation revenue for the province. That's point number 2, and for the country. Consider the losses from writing off the interest costs of acquiring Potash Corp, anywhere from $168 to $200 million per year on our budget. That's not a net benefit. And make no mistake, there is not a deferral or a delay in payment of monies to come eventually. This would be a loss. That is ongoing, for as long as it takes for the debt to be retired, that stems from the takeover. What about the fiscal impact from BHP Billiton's stated position that they want to be a price taker? Full production, stand in front of your customer, take the price. Well, we've commissioned our report. The conference board has weighed in on that, and they've said if you run potash assets at full capacity, and if you take the market price that results, the resulting oversupply can cut the price by 60%, and then our revenue exposure is up to $570 million annually. So we have a range then of revenue risk to the province as a result of this, ranging from $3 billion to $6 billion plus. And Canada, of course, is impacted especially on the corporate income tax side, not a net benefit. Finally, what about the strategic interests of our province? And let me just say, on these first two issues, we've engaged with BHP Billiton. They have made known to us they wanted to talk a little bit about these two issues. They've been trying to meet our concerns. We've appreciated that dialogue and that discussion, but we're obviously a long ways away from any result that would protect the revenue and protect potentially the economic strength of the province of Saskatchewan. And even were we to get to that stage, I have real doubt whether or not we should overcome the concerns that we should have about the impact on this of the strategic interests of our province and of our country. Think for a moment about the scope and the scale of the proposal before the people of our province and before the people of Canada and before the financial markets. I don't think there's been a bigger corporate takeover proposed in the history of our country. Consider what is at stake in terms of potash. We all know that arable land is actually decreasing in supply because of urban sprawl and population growth. We know that countries are getting hungrier, that the protein intensity of diets is increasing, and therefore agricultural intensity will also be on the rise up. We know then that this amazing nutrient that we have in such great abundance in the province, this potash, is going to be in greater supply. It is a strategic resource, and we should act like it. The country should act like it. What other takeover in the history of corporate takeovers has involved up to 25 to 30% of the world's anything? Can you name one? Can you think of one? This takeover involves 25 to 30% of the known reserves in the world of potash. This is different. This is not like any other takeover that we have contemplated in the country. Are our strategic interests in the province likely better served by a company who's vested in potash? But that's their really number one priority. That's their most important profit center. Or are we better served by a company, a good company, but one that has 100 different mines in 25 countries? A company for whom this massive proposition still only counts for about 20 to 25% of their business. Will potash become a loss leader? for a company that has other things to sell? These are questions. These are serious questions about the strategic position of your Saskatchewan and of our country as a result of this takeover. And there are others. How is the end of Canpotex, an agency that has put us on the map in the potash sector, an agency that has built strong, strategic, and successful marketing alliances around the world, how is its end eventually, how does that further our strategic interest, our strategic position? I don't believe that it does. And in all of this, PCS is lost. And there's probably a lot of good debate around the province about, the amount of officers now in Chicago. And I appreciate their pledge to Saskatchewan. It sounds like they're going to be retrenching back to Saskatoon, where their headquarters are. But imagine the loss of the Potash Corporation in all of this. Notwithstanding what was debated in the House of Commons yesterday, this is not a foreign-controlled company. Potash Corporation is 49% owned by Canadian shareholders, 38% by Americans, and the rest by others. 8 out of the 12 directors are from Canada. 2 of them are from Saskatchewan. One's got a farm in Saskatchewan. Right now, the proponent in this deal is offering 1 board seat to Canada, not to Saskatchewan. And we need to think about how another foreign takeover in our mining sector would be for the country, for Canada's influence over strategic resources. Canadian-led mining companies are at risk of becoming an endangered species. This is the last and the biggest one, some have said. The list of those companies who have now fallen under foreign control is significant. They include Inco and Falconbridge and Alcan. The people of this province are asking themselves what happens to the country, what happens to our economy if the Potash Corporation of Saskatchewan is next.